Hello everyone, I am woman. Thank you, my welcome home, my spiritual rebels out there. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, so here I am, updating you on what has been surfacing on my end. I know we've been hit with a lot of energetical waves in the last 3 months, and it's been quite intense. And I want to discuss a few things that have been occurring on my end in this awakening journal that I am making. So first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for their donations. It is greatly appreciated and received with open heart. For every donation you make is returned to you in an amplified way, in blessings that are beyond your imagination. So thank you, and you're welcome. And I am honored by your presence, for my presence speaks for itself. So one of the things that has been surfacing one of these days, soon after my last video, has been me going to the store to shop for boba tea for my daughter. You know, she loves boba tea, you know, so I like to kind of like make those little gifts to her. So as we were in the store and I was purchasing, you know, I was selecting the boba tea, we were approached by 3 women to go to Bible study. I was not even aware that these things were still happening. You know, I went to I navigated Bible studies when I was in college, in my early days, and one of the things that I have observed during these Bible studies is that most people just memorize verses and repeated them in a linear basis, you know. So as you question things, they will just respond with just repeating and vomiting some verses to your face, and that didn't interest me, you know. I was looking for real answers, not the pretense of a connection with God, right? Because in my childhood, what happened was that I was brought up as a Catholic, and my dad practiced Vodou, which in Benin, Vodou is kind of like a spiritual religion. It's a religion, right, where they use energies, incantation, and to communicate with Mother Nature, right? Yeah. Although sometimes it's used in a negative way, but yeah, that's what I grew up with. And as my mom committed suicide and died at the age when I was 9 years old, my dad would organize masses. She died a couple of days, she killed herself a couple of days after Christmas, you know. So around that period, my dad will organize and, you know, set up masses in her honor, and we were obligated to attend. So that's where I would challenge my dad on these things, right? Because as we go to church and during the mass, there's a part, sometimes you have to kneel and bow yourself down, you know, to an external God. And I will refuse. You know, yes, I was a rebel very early on. I would refuse, I would challenge my dad. I'm not kneeling to any of your gods because, there was a lot of abuses, whether emotional or physical, in my home growing up, you know. So for me, I challenge any god that my dad uh, um, uh, prayed to, you know. So I would refuse to kneel. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna stay seated. And he used to threaten me right in church. Yeah, that's right. Logic, you know. If to be threatened, to kneel down to a God that did not resonate true to me, because everybody says yes, yes, I pray to God, I pretend, to be connected to a divine, but then when doors are closed, there's a lot of abuses. I used to get physically abused and beaten for expressing myself at home. And as I challenged him like that, about that in church, he would threaten to beat me right there and then. So and holding me. The only thing that made me concede, because I would have stood up to it, right? But the only thing that made me concede to do it was the fact that Derek, the equivalent of my twin flame, the equivalent of my twin flame was an altar boy. Yeah, he was an altar boy. Yeah. So, not wanting to be embarrassed and from a place of fear, I conceded and kneel down to my dad, God. And later on, my dad explained to me, which made sense, I get it. As a parent, he wanted to impart onto me, it was his duty to impart onto me what religion and God was from his perspective. And that when I would turn 18, I was free to do as I chose. So I complied. That makes total sense to me. Yes, as a father, he wants to give his kids what he felt was, his duties as a father, So I considered, fine. So as soon as I turned 18, the first thing I told him as a birthday gift to myself, right, that I never want to hear anything, not even a whisper about his God. I don't care if it's a mass in honor of my mother, because my mother is within myself, It is only now that I'm even conscious that I used to say these things to him. The dots, you do these things, you navigate them unconsciously. And as you get to this phase and you build this connection with your heart, it has to come from a place of trust, faith. That's what faith is called, right? It's like a commitment to this journey, Yeah, so as I communicated that to him, that was my way of affirming and, the quest, the individual quest to spirituality, right? Because spirituality is an inner journey to your heart, and it's a very individual one. And this is what I want to talk about today, because, like I said, I perceive, having navigated all these avenues to get myself here, I have observed that spirituality has become perverted by a lot of authorities who claim awakening in a linear basis as a concept, not a reality, right? Because reality cannot be explained. Yeah. So as I found myself in the supermarket getting this boba tea with my daughter, and being confronted with this questioning, as this girl in observing my refusal and my to participate in her Bible study, she persisted and asked me, "Don't you want to know about God?" Like I know about God. God and me, I won. you know. So as I said these things, people are like, "What the? Who the fuck?" I was like, "Yeah. She doesn't know. I smack that rainbow, that truth into her world right there with my golden dick. Yeah. Those of you who are not aware, this is this being that you are witnessing, right? This unicorn slash butterfly slash mermaid slash peacock slash dragon slash lioness here. I like to walk around with my golden dick, which is the transcendence of my ego. It's representing the transcendence of my ego. I like to slap some rainbow into people's world. Yeah. So as I slap that rainbow into her world, the the next girl, because there were three of them. The next girl came back and was like, "Well, don't you want to go to heaven when you die?" Motherfucker, I want to go to heaven now when I'm alive. Who knows what happens when you die? What's the point of focusing on what's going to happen when I die? I'm already dead. Fuck that shit, I want to live heaven now, here, So heaven is here. So when they heard that, I got all their attention. Yeah. So she came back. She was like, "You think this is heaven? You are in heaven? Really? You are in heaven?" And I'm looking at her, this is the moment. It's like you navigate these things mostly unconsciously, but as you develop this faith and trust with your heart, it becomes conscious. So this conversation, she got my attention. As she said that, and I started paying attention, right? She so she was like, "So you think this is heaven with everything that is happening in the world? All these abuses, this poverty, all of the devastations." And as she kept going, I had to pause and observe, right? That was, you catch it a little faster now. It's not done in an unconscious way anymore. It's like, this is what we call presence. It's like it takes some practice, and it starts coming faster, So as she was saying that, I was observing, because it's a conversation with myself that I was having, right? So I calmed down, and there was a silence. And as I found myself trying to defend my position, I paused. I had to pause a moment. Why is it that I need to defend the fact that I was in heaven? Why do I need to prove it to anybody? Those questions surfaced, as she was asking for validation and proof of my statement. So it is in that moment that in silence, I just, surrounded her and bowed down with compassion and just decided to be quiet. It's just like, I just don't want to go to Bible study. But her questioning stayed with me, right? Most of us, when we feel good and there's something we are put on a path that internally feels so validating, right? And we step out into the world, what happens is that it triggers the system, right? The matrix is triggered. You're stepping on your own. You are becoming your own authority. So everybody's challenged by that, because you're making them look at themselves, right? So it as you navigate these things, this is the it's an opportunity to affirm yourself, right? And in after this conversation and we return home, nothing happened by coincidence. Nothing happens by coincidence. Everything happens for a reason, right? And you are never alone. So as I returned home, I sat in silence, in meditation, and this moment came up. And in reflecting, and seeing everybody always are talking about themselves, right? So as this girl is talking and exposing her reality, which was she was expressing, she was saying, this hell here, right, is a heaven for you, right? So when you get confronted with these things, you have to pause, because in defending yourself, you descend to the frequency of that person and bound yourself there, right? It's all a reflection. As projections are being introduced, she was introducing the energy back, right? And it's your choice. This is what we call free will. It's your choice to bind yourself to that frequency. In defending yourself, you are attaching yourself to her perspective, because everybody is only talking about themselves, right? And she has created hell for herself. Why should I be the one defending it? No, I am living heaven. I don't have to prove it to anybody. So every time you are talking about the beautiful experiences you are having in your world, and how the world is in balance, there's nothing to fix in the world. That's right. There's nothing to fix in the world. Everything is exactly as it should be. You are exactly where you need to be, and you need to keep affirming that. And as someone comes and challenges you, a lot of people do that. I have been encountering a lot of people, because people are going to come and they're going to say, what about the Holocaust? Are you saying all these people who died? Be careful. Do not engage, right? They're talking about the Holocaust. They're living within themselves. That's right. Yes. Everything people are saying is about what they are embodying, the inner world that they are embodying, right? People are going to challenge you. You're saying this world is beautiful, you see, and this is hell. So what she was saying to me is that, I should not be living heaven here. I should wait until I die before I go to heaven. No, heaven is here, right? And it's for you to affirm it and to be able to see it. It's a choice. This is what we call free will, right? So you will be presented with these illusions, right? And it will be your choice to want to defend or attach yourself to this illusion and frequency. So I want to put it out there. So as I sat, and the best thing to do when you get challenged in this way is silence. Surround the person with compassion, and just walk away. And this walking away is called turning the other cheek. Yeah, that's right. People hear these things in a linear basis, and they don't know what that means. It's like, I hear a lot of people, talking, doing Bible study, blah, blah, blah. And all they hear when they say turn the other cheek is, when someone slap you with their egotistical dick, who has not yet transcended, and that dick presents itself in a very limp manner, like a limp dick. It doesn't even, it can't even slap people. That dick has not had enough experience to transcend yet, it has not collected enough data, It's coming from a place of fear, right? As they come to slap you with that dick, you have to hold firm. You have to hold firm. This is heaven. And I only answer to the authority of my heart. Yeah, that's right. So as I return home and sat in meditation, I am being I am being given the insight to share my sexual abuse. Yeah, it's a very important. I wasn't quite sure why I was being brought there. This is why, again, nothing is a coincidence, because that exchange has triggered and opened up a quest, uh, within me. So as I explore, how did I get here, right? Because it came out on its own. Yes, how is it that as I lost my job on July 16, and I'm still navigating, quite a few things are presenting themselves a certain way. How is it that I am having the best time of my life? Yes, there's been challenges. Yes, there's been crying. Yes, there's like fear at times present, but the responses are becoming less and less intense, right? So this is what we call tampering, right? It's like in and out. You go in and out, 5D world, then you come to the 3D world and you tamper that energy. You affirm yourself, the new version of yourself into this reality, So how did I get here? And I want to navigate this sexual abuse. And as I navigated it internally, right, what has happened? When I was young, growing up, my dad used to talk to us about the origin of our names and which country in the world we would like to go to, right? So Kali's country was Germany. It's a German. Her name it had for origin was a German name originally. So her country, her ideal, her dream country was to visit Germany. To that was the place of her dreams. And Cesca was Italy, right? Her name is Italian. So, and me, Jennifer, right? My name is American, but because I didn't speak English, right? I deferred to Canada. I was like, Canada is my country, the country of my dream, because it is bilingual. In Quebec, you speak both English and French. And for my brother Rogelio, it was Spain. And yeah, so I used to talk about Canada, how I'm going to live there, how I'm going to study there, and I used to dream about it all the time. So as the years passed and my dad got transferred to the United States as a diplomat, and we studied here, we came to the United States, and as I finished high school, I didn't speak English, so I went to a bilingual high school in Manhattan. And as I completed the 12th grade, if you, as a daughter of a diplomat, so when you finish high school in a country where your dad has been posted, you get a scholarship automatically. Everything is paid for you. The living expenses and the tuition of the schools. So I was excited when I finished 12th grade. I was like, I'm going to step in my freedom. I'm going to go to Canada. Everything was planned. I was ready to go. And as I sat with my dad to ask him the next step and the application process in order to get the scholarship in place, because I was packed up. I was ready to get the fuck out of there, uh, you know. So he told me that it was not gonna happen. Well, the shock was so severe. I was like, say that again, you know? Yeah, you're not going to Canada. I was like, what is happening? There's how, why? So he was like, I need help with you and with your sisters, and you cannot go. You're gonna go to school here. Um, so even before that, what has surfaced is that my dad had a close relationship with the prior ambassador in the US, right? And as the prior ambassador left as we came, he asked my dad to take care of his sons for him, two of them. So my dad, having a big heart, he has a good heart, he's a loyal person, he likes to return favors to people who have stood by him, so it was supposedly to be just for a couple of months until they transitioned to their uncle, because they had family here, and it ended up being for years. So as they moved in with us, and my time to go to college came, my dad refused for me to go to Canada. So that was a very big shock to me. And I insisted, I got angry, why should I be staying? My sisters are teenagers, everybody is old enough. Why do I have to sacrifice my dream so I can be there for everybody else, so this news felt like a violation of my space, right? Who is my dad to claim my life and my dream as his own, right? So I told him that if that is the case, if I cannot go to Canada, I will not go to college. And his response was, if you don't go to college, that's your choice, but no matter what, you are not going to Canada. And there was no even scholarship for the US. You see, that's where I was so confused. There's no scholarship, but because he was on the scholarship committee at the embassy, he said that he was going to push so I can get some financial support. I was enraged. I was so enraged. I was, this was a violation of my, my space, right? So in rebelling, I told him no matter what, I will fend for myself and go to Canada on my own. And he was like, that's your choice. Do as you wish, but you're not going. So in anger and resentment, I stood up. That summer, I did not apply to any college. I'm like, I'm going to show him. And during the summer, I decided to go find a job and earn my own money so I can travel and fend for myself in Canada. And as I was skipping around in Times Square trying to prove my dad wrong, right? I encountered this character, this guy who stopped me and was like, hey, are you interested in modeling? And I was like, get the fuck out of here. But he was like, no, I am an agent, and he had a business card, right? He's like, I'm looking for just like a casual models, to kind of like for little little stores that like Old Navy and small store, nothing. And he really had his fact checks, right? He got my attention. And I was like, wow, could it be this easy? And my next response was, how much do you pay? So he sounded good, I was like, oh wow, so with a couple of this job I can have enough and get myself to Canada. I was excited. So as he gave me his business card, he informed me that they actually have a photo shoot scheduled very soon, and he would like to bring me to get that started, and maybe we will be able to get work going, show the clients. So I was very excited. I took his card, and afterwards he called the house and told me that the photo shoot's date has been set in place, and he was calling to figure out if I was still interested, which I was. My dream was manifesting on its own. I was excited. Yeah, so I set everything up, and I asked him for he had the address of the place, and he was like, it's in New Jersey. Do you have transportation? Are you familiar with that area? And I was like, no, I just moved to the country a year ago. So he offered to drive me there. You see, yeah. Fueled by my rage and to prove my dad wrong, I did not see any of the signs, right? Yeah, so I accepted the ride, and we met in Manhattan, and the day of the shoot, and it was just me and him in the car. So I asked him where the other people, because he was talking about driving there with the whole team. So he was like, we're meeting the team over there, that's where the photo shoot is gonna happen. So I was like, okay. So I sat in the car with him, and he was very nice. We were joking, chatting, blah blah blah. And as soon as we crossed over to New Jersey, the the energy changed. He stopped talking, and he became very cold. So it's like my radar, my armor started coming up. It's like something is wrong. It felt like meeting two different people. Something else stepped in that moment. And the farther we went, it's like we drove, I think, for about an hour, and he stopped at a deserted motel. And that's when like the red light went off, because there was no other car in the parking lot. And I have never been in New Jersey. I didn't know my way around the US. We just moved in this country a year prior. So in that moment, it's like my heart started beating very fast. It's like, something is wrong, but you can't tell for sure, right? So he stepped out of the car and opened my door, and I stepped out, and I was just looking to encounter, to see if there was someone else around, and so I can run to them. But there was nobody around, and as he led the way, I just followed. I was scared. Something was not right? But I continued to follow him. So he opened the door of the hotel room, right? It was a motel, right? The motel room. He opened the door, and as we walked in the room, there was no one there. So that's when I knew something bad was about to happen, because as soon as I turned around, he locked the door with the key, and on the bed there was those disposable $7 camera. Back in the days, you remember, I was 19 at that time, so I just knew something was not right. But I kept smiling, right? because my inside, well, I was like, I'm not gonna look defeated, to not give in. I didn't want to show him that I was scared, right? So as he locked the door and put the key in his pocket, he told me, get undressed and put, because he asked me to bring a bathing suit for the photo shoot. So he's like, get undressed and put the bathing suit on. And I did. I got undressed, I put the bathing suit on, and he started taking pictures with the disposable camera. And then after he was done taking the picture, and I posed, I was like, yeah, I'm beautiful, yeah, take, you know. And as he was taking the pictures, I was like, okay, so, you know, how soon will the payment come? And I knew what was about to happen, but I continued to act like if this was fine with me, you know, like I've been here before. I understand what is happening, you know. I refused to act scared, and I was holding back my tears, you know, and holding tight because I was shaking inside. I didn't know where I was. I felt like crying for my dad, but I didn't have a choice. So I kept smiling. So after he took the pictures with my bathing suit, the next step, he was like, then he told me, get undressed and get on the bed. So I got undressed and I laid on the bed, looking at the ceiling, staring at the ceiling. So it is then he told me to spread my legs. And as I spread my legs, he started fingering me, right? Trying to touching himself as he fingered me. And that sensation, the level of fear that came through me, it's indescribable. It's like the level of violation that I felt in that moment was indescribable. So I could no longer hold my tears back in that moment. And as I stared at the ceiling, I was just like, Mom, if you are out there, now is the time. Now is the time. Because I couldn't hold back the tears, right? I was just smiling. But I felt the tears coming and I couldn't hold them back. You know? So it is in that moment that he stopped himself. Somehow, as he tried to unzip his pants, he was touching himself and fingering me. He stopped himself, as I said, muttered those words internally. And he was like, are you a virgin? And without hesitation, with the biggest smile, I was like, yeah. Why, is that a problem? Yeah, at that point at 19, I only slept only once with Derek when I was 17. So I had no other sexual intercourse afterwards. So as he asked that question, I was just like, yeah, I am a virgin, you know. And I noticed that, so he froze and looked at me. He wasn't sure. Like, he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I am a virgin. Why? Is there a problem? And I was smiling. Is there a problem? So he was like, you know, you can make more money. And I was like, really? How? And he was like, you know, if I call a few friends and you are okay with it, you know, we can film us. We can make a movie with all of us sleeping with you. And you can make like almost $5,000. And I was like, $5,000? I was still laying on the bed. And I was like, $5,000? Wow. How soon will that money be given to me? And he was like, just right away, within a few. And I was like, and he asked, will you do it? And I was like, hell yeah. That was my way out, you know? I was in survival mode, you know? So he froze. He still could not believe it. He was like, you will do it? I was like, yeah, but it will have to be fast because, you know, as I explained to you, I have to go to college in Canada, so I'm trying to save up for it. You know, I don't want it to take too long. And he was like, okay, so dress back up. I'll drop you to the train station. I'm gonna call my buddies, and tonight I'll call you back. And I was like, could this be real? So I dressed back up and I followed him back to the car, and he dropped me to the train station, bought me the train ticket, and I found myself back home. As soon as I came home, I locked myself in the bathroom, turned on the shower, went under the shower, cleaned out all the you know, because he fingered me for a while, so I had to clean that out of me, and I cried for hours under the shower. And guess what? He did call, and as he called that evening, I asked a friend, one of the friends, the kids who my dad was residing with us as a my dad took on as a favor to his colleague to live with us. I asked him because he had he was older than me, and he was a man, you know. I told him I need a favor from him. I want him to talk to this person and to tell him with as much authority as possible that if he ever calls again, you will call the cops on him. So he was like, sure. He took the phone, answered the person, and the person was like, yeah, I'm trying to talk to Jen. And my friend told him, if you ever call here again, we know what you did, you know, we'll call the cops on you. So he never. This is how my sexual, you know, abuse happened. And it's only later, somehow magically, I watched a documentary on rape, you know, and it came to my attention that the people who impose sexual abuses on women sometimes cannot get an erection when there's no fear, you know, when the woman is not afraid. They cannot get hard. And it is then that, in shock, I was like, holy shit, that's why it took so long, because he was fingering me for a while, and I was smiling, you know, and I was like, I'm not gonna be afraid, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna show him that I am scared. And as I ask, I muttered those words, Mom, if you are out there, now is the moment, you know. He stopped. And so in sitting in meditation, after I went to the supermarket, and this moment came back, because I was like, how did I get here? I realized, so after that situation, I went into deep depression, right? And there was no more going to Canada. I considered, applied to, because it was now the end of the summer, I applied to no college in the US. So I went to first look for an online college, and then I settled for a small college called Monroe College in the Bronx, and they accepted me, and I enrolled myself as an accountant, and my dad paid for it. So I did go to college in the US, And as I went into deep depression, I told my dad that I wanted to go back home. The US was a very hard experience for me. I just need to go back and recharge. So, as I considered to do as he wished, right? He bought me a ticket back to Benin on my own for that December, that same year. I wanted to go back to Derek. I was, because I broke up with him before we left. You know, he was fucking around too much, and I was like, at this point, you know, I'm going to the US, so there's no point. And I had written him as soon as I came to the US. I wrote him every month for a year. He never responded, right? So I just needed to go back home and tell him that I no longer want to continue without him. I want him in my life. There's nothing else out there for me. So as I returned back home that same night, you know, on the way from the airport, I stopped at his house and realized that he was throwing a party with his best friend, Victor, you know, who I guess they met when I moved to the US, you know, and they became inseparable. So it was a new character for me. So he told me, we're doing a party and you should come back tonight and come, because I'm organizing it with this guy that I've met, and he's a great guy. He's my best friend. You get to see him. So that same night I came back to the party. You know, they were doing it, I think, in Victor's house. I'm not quite sure. So it was a huge party. And so when I came, Derek took me to the roof. And as he took me to the roof, I missed him so much. You know, and as I just wanted to feel him inside me, to take away that sensation that I had within me, that, you know, that sensation of violation. So I unzipped him right there and then on the roof and engulfed his manhood in my mouth. But I've never done it, so I wasn't quite sure if I was doing it right. But in that moment, he stopped me and he was like, "No, not here. Anybody can come to the roof, right?" And I was like, "Okay, then after." He was like, "Sure." So in that moment, he called Victor, and there was nobody on the roof because the party was happening on the first floor of the place. So on the roof was deserted, but you could hear all the music and everything. And that was fine by me because I didn't know anybody at the party. So there was a table on the roof, and he told me to sit here, and he was leaving me in good hands with Victor, that he, as a host, he needed to attend to the party, so he was going to go downstairs and attend to the party, and we'll come back up. So throughout the whole party, I was mostly talking to Victor, who was informing me that he has earned a scholarship and was moving to the US, and that we could exchange data and stay in touch. I was like, "Sure, no problem," and offered to dance with me. And as we dance, you know, this slow music, the way this guy was moving with me was very interesting. I was like, "Wow, this guy is dancing quite interestingly with his best friend girlfriend." You know, the way he touched me was quite intimate, you know, so I already observed that. So at the end of the party, Derek came up. He would come up here and there to talk, and then he would go back. So at the party ended, he came up with Victor again, because I was sitting, I just patiently waiting, you know. I'm a patient person. So as I waited, they came up and to ask me to help them financially with the party cost, because they ran a little bit short. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I gave them the money, and the night ended, and we all went home. And I told Derek that I would come back to his place the next day. And as I came back the next day, he was sick, you know. So we stayed in his place, and we were talking, and I was catching up with him, letting him know that I had written to him for over a year and there was no response, and but he was sick, so I didn't push too much. I was waiting patiently. Maybe he will heal and we'll have the talk, because I wanted to plan our future together. I wanted to tell him that I didn't want to move forward without him. I wanted him by my side. He was the only man for me. I didn't want anything else. So I will bring him. I think I brought some apples to help him eat something while he was sick and get better. So as I sat with him in his bedroom, someone knocked at the door. So the bedroom was separated from the entry, the living room. So someone knocked, and as he got up and went to check who he was and opened the door, he came back in the bedroom and told me to stay here and not talk and not step out. He was like, please, I'm trying to get rid of this person. Just don't say anything. I'm just going to make it as quick as possible, and then we can continue talking. So I was like, okay, sure. So I will hear him whisper. I will hear the conversation, but it was very faint. And I just waited. And after 10 minutes, I just got the impulse to just step out. And I stepped out. And it was one of our old classmates, a girl. Let's call her Sarah. Yeah, let's call her Sarah. So Sarah was there, and they were just talking. They sat down, we're talking, and I was like, hey, Sarah, what's up? That's the innocence I'm talking about. I'm open. I have an open heart. I don't, for me, there's no reason to distrust anybody until it's presented, right? So I was like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And as I hugged Derek, held him close, and then sat next to him, and we were talking about, she just kept, first they were both silent and shocked, right? And as I sat down, I was like, hey, so Sarah, what have you been up to? What's going on? And she talked, and then she left. And Derek felt tired, so I left as well. So after that, she contacted me the next day and told me that she wanted to talk to me. And as I visited Derek, I was like, you know what? Oddly enough, Sarah contacted me and told me that she wanted to hang out. So I invited her to my house tonight. So he said nothing, and the time came, and this girl came to my house, sat down, and told me if I was dating Derek, if Derek and I were together. I'm a very private person, so that question first and foremost shocked me, because although we were classmates, I never talked to her. She was not one of my friends. I didn't know, anything about her. I just knew, we'll see each other around, and I knew her name, but besides that, I didn't know anything else. So when she asked me, I was like, yeah, sure, we are together, in a way. He was, yeah. So she was like, well, because were you at the party yesterday? She told me, and I was like, yes, I was at the party. She was like, where? I didn't see you. I was like, yeah, I was on the roof. And she was like, oh, I was on the first floor. I was like, ah. And I couldn't figure out why she was telling me this. It is then that she said, but, because Derek has been courting me. He has been coming out to me. He was with me at the party. I was his guest. I was, he invited me, and we were dancing and doing stuff. Okay, that how this guy I said, no. It is then that the dots started connecting, and I was like, eh, oh, 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 ah, you know. And she was like, yeah, he's been fucking around on the both of us. And it is in that moment, I took a pause and I observed her, you know. It is very interesting. I started paying attention. She kind of, she was kind of like me, you know. She was a very strong, strong woman, you know. She appeared to have principles, you know. And I admired the way she was calm when I stepped out of that bedroom. So to see another woman coming out of the bedroom of someone who's courting you and retain that level of dignity and composure. In that moment, as she was revealing these things to me, I was just in admiration of her. I was like, wow, she reminds me of myself. But she looked nothing like me, right? Because I'm very svelte, you know. You know, and she had boobs and she had nice ass, you know. She was beautiful. She. I was like, wow, and it was shocking because that's when I realized, you know, that. Derek was not attracted to the way I looked, right? This is what he was attracted for, you know, this is what he wanted. So as she was talking to me about these things, and she was saying, you know, he duped all of us, I stayed calm and I observed her to see what her intention was, you know. And it is then that I observed, it's so beautiful. This is why I said women are the most dangerous animals on this planet. It's like when it's survival time, they don't see us coming, you know. So I observe, I listen to what she was saying, right? She wanted me to punish him and reject him so he can return back to her, right? So in that moment, I told her, you know, technically, Derek is free because I did break up with him, right? He's a free man. He did nothing wrong. And I'm leaving tomorrow, so you can have him back. So that's where we left the conversation. She left, she went home, and I waited. You know, Derek knew what was coming. I forget. I was not even. It was the truth, you know. We broke up. He did nothing wrong, but there was a betrayal, right? He could have just told me that he was seeing someone else. He didn't respond to any of my letters for a year, you know. He manipulated me and hid from me. And that's where doubt was introduced into my world. That's where I started doubting my heart. So I expressed to him my anger. And he was like, it's not what you think it is. So I asked him to justify himself with this behavior. And that's when he revealed to me that she was just a bet between his friends. You see, he makes bets with his best friend Victor on how to gain a girl's heart, right? And with that revelation, and he tried. I got so mad. I was like, well, you know, well, go fuck off. Go get the girl. Why are you here? Why are you here trying to convince me of anything? You know, there's nothing else to do. I'm going home, you know. And he was begging me, you know, trying to get my forgiveness, you know, and brought me to his best friend Victor to help him, to convince me to forgive him. And that's when this character was introduced to me. This character Victor was introduced to me. I was observing his impact on Derek's life, out of nowhere. It's been only a year since I've left. Where did this guy appear from? And even to have a say into how I express my emotion and my disappointment to Derek. So after that, I broke up with Derek and just moved on. Moved back to the US and went back to college, no more complaining, and just committed myself to finishing my studies. So after this encounter at the supermarket with this girl, and the meditation, sitting in silence, was triggered and brought me back to that event. And with all the work I have been doing into really looking at myself and what it is that I contribute and created in my own environment, it is then that I realized that I had manifested my rape. You see? Yes. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you start on this quest, you start facing yourself in ways where it can get very scary, right? Because in feeling the violation that my dad has induced on me by refusing for me to go to Canada, I have created and manifested that violation into the 3D world through my sexual abuse. And in running to Derek to erase and hide from that violation, he created another violation. He because your twin flame reflects to you everything that you go, your inner world. So that reflection was given back to me, right? As soon as I went, I experienced that violation all over again. And it is that moment that I hid away my heart. You know, I was like, I will never put myself in that situation with a man again. So I hid my heart away in him. And I was like, never again will a man break my heart the way this has happened, because the intensity of the emotion that I felt for this person, again, cannot be described, right? So that bond and that violation created a distrust, and doubt was introduced into my reality, where I refused, you know, because I started taking control of my environment, you know, started imposing control on myself, because I felt like navigating things with my heart open was too risky, because that loss and those emotions felt in that moment were so intense that the thought of death was not even enough, you know. So instead, I shut everything down and pushed those feelings deep inside and buried them, and just got back up out there and finished my studies, right? So as I revisited that and saw how I hid my heart away in running away from Derek, right? In that moment, in seeing that my dad, in asking me to stick around, was not him punishing me. It was just Mother Cosmos guiding me through using my dad. It could have been that my dad needed help, you know, and needed the assistance, because I know who I am, right? You know, when you are an energy shifter, and you transmute energy, your presence, there's no action to be done. When you're around, people feel it. They feel good, and they don't know why, you know. So my presence on some level was alleviating my dad, you know, to the point where he asked for me to stick around, and instead I decided to punish him, sending resentment, you know. And as these things get revealed, this is why I say I've been prepared for these things, because you are getting guided. We get guided by the cosmos, and most of the time to the highest version of ourselves, and most of the time we resisted our growth, you know, because it gets so scary. You feel things so intensely. So instead of facing them, we run away. So in that moment, in going through that, in reflection, the last wave, the last bond to Derek was removed. And with that removal, there was nothing else. It's like you experience the void. And it can be very frightening because there's nobody else to hold on to. You realize that everybody is a reflection of yourself. And it's like, it's very scary at first. So it can take a while to kind of settle in. Hence I haven't made a video in 3 months. You have to wait until that, knowing settles and you embody it. This is the phase we call the rebirth, right? It's like the new version of yourself. The space has been made, and as that progresses up to now, just today, right? I realized that the twin flame, my twin flame, the experience of a twin flame is the intensity of the love you feel for yourself, right? My twin flame is my heart, and it exposes the attachment, right? Because you're approaching this love in an external way, because this person is a mirror reflection of your inner world. You can feel his capacity to hold that love and what he feels for you, But as you free yourself from that, you really discover your own capacity to love yourself. That's the twin flame. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Nothing. Your twin flame is Mother Cosmos herself. Yes, power. Yeah. So in getting to this step, I have freed myself and discovered freedom, and things have been shifting and stepping in, and so this is the type of inner dialogue and interaction and navigation that need to take place if you are on this journey to develop this inner trust and inner faith. And as soon as these things happen, wow, that will be another video, because I'm gonna share things, as you now it's gonna be referred. Derek is the old version of my twin flame, because my twin flame is me, it's my heart. Yes, it's the cosmos. Yes, I am my own woman. Let's affirm that, Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's beautiful, and you have to keep committing, because what you discover, it's like you start falling in love with you. You don't need anybody, you don't want anything, but everybody is a reflection of you. There's nothing else to hold on to. There's nothing else to debate. There's nothing else to defend, and one of the biggest mantra that I have created to help myself, and I'm giving to you so you can help yourself with it, right? When the heart hears its melody, it naturally opens. If it doesn't, there's nothing to do. You just stay silent and wait, right? And that's when all the spirit guides step in, right? My spirit animals. Yeah, this is why I say the being that is taking place, the space that has been made, has freed, because I step in with an army of spirit animals. And as I encounter people, people come and they step in. It depends on which spirit animals they will face. There's a flow happening with me and my heart, right? As you realize that you are your own twin flame, you are one with the cosmos, right? You step into your creator mode. There's no more defending anything. When people present themselves, you are in flow. You let things happen. You speak from a place, a depth, a realm that many cannot conceive of, right? And I will share the next step, what comes after that. But for today, this was it, So if you are out there navigating these energies and you are you're feeling discouraged because you're facing certain fears, trust it, feel your way through it, have faith. It's only hiding the biggest blessings that you can imagine, even today, to think that getting fired will lead to my own awakening. It's unbelievable. It's like there's so much beauty. Heaven is here. We are living it now. It's just that you have to shift your perspective. Nobody to blame, nobody to condemn. You are only talking about yourself. So as you navigate these things, it's learning to develop compassion and understanding and patience towards you, because you deserve it. Now is your time. Why not create a heaven, and invest in a craft that is true to you? Because as you do that, and as you are patient with yourself, and as you try not to make things about other people and look at everything experiences in a linear basis, right? You develop this trust with yourself, and you step into the best version, and you introduce purpose into your life. Even accounting has taken a whole different embodied a whole different perspective for me, because accounting became spiritual. Everything became spiritual. So I will share that next step, because the next step is affirming it in your reality. And as you step out and you affirm it, you're going to trigger the matrix. Everybody's going to come around, and they're going to come hard. Yes, that's why as you free your spirit guides and they step in, there's nothing for you to do but to flow with it, right? Yes, my presence speaks for itself. Woman of my own. Let's affirm that. Yes, let's slap that rainbow with my golden dick into your world. Yes, so this is it. That's what I wanted to share today. Hopefully I will continue this path together. So as you navigate these things, you are not alone, okay? Again, the key is to be patient with yourself, and you will step back up. You are tired? Take a break, take a nap, pamper yourself, give yourself a hug, and feel it. There's love. This is a loving around. I'm a love being. Feel the love. I'm slapping it with my golden dick into your magical world right there. Step into the rebel in you. Define things in your individual way. You only answer to the authority of your own heart. Yeah, let's get that out there. Yeah, all right. I am woman. Thank you. See you next time.